Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all, especially on this beautiful day that you chose to come indoors for this spiritual time is very impressive because it is gorgeous out there. So I hope later today you have plans to get out and enjoy everything. My name is Karen Marcus. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm your lay leader for this, which is our last Sunday service here at Penn Ren. I know a lot of us is very sad that it is the last Sunday and we're going into our summer break, but it is a great opportunity for us to connect in this very small but vibrant spiritual fellowship that is built on the foundation of our central principle, one that is love and acceptance of all that we connect with every day. So thank you for being here and for being present today. I always say I love the monthly themes, and again, for anybody who doesn't know, one of the roles I play is to select the words that the lay leader gets to say through the service. And one of the resources that we use for that is this platform called Soul Matters, where Unitarian Universalist members and fellowships and leaders across the UUA come together to provide inspirational words. And you'll see out on our bulletin board in the coffee area that they've picked the themes for next year. But I want to remind you what we've been talking about this year, because all of our messages, whether they're those spoken words or the songs that you hear Avi select for us, are built around those themes. So hopefully what you've been doing this church year is learning to listen more deeply, learning to be present for all of those who are around you, learning to trust yourself and others, finding joy in all aspects of your life, and learning to share your stories. Because through that, we deepen our spiritual experience. That's what will sustain us, especially through our summer break. And hopefully, what it does is help you choose this as your spiritual home. And I have to say, those final words were some that were inspired by Nancy Harbin, our president, who talked about one of the things that is a challenge in our communities these days is that we're losing our homes. Virtual working has had people lose their work homes. Many of us are searching for a spiritual home. So hopefully you find this to be one that you want to connect with. But let's visit our monthly theme once more on this May Sunday. And in May, we were talking about the practice of imagination. So that foreshadows the kind of things you'll be hearing talked about and said today. Sherry chose a quote from Albert Einstein as part of this theme. And the quote is, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." Think about that. Knowledge is limited to what we know now and understand now. But imagination embraces the entire world and all that ever will be to know. The ethics of imagination calls on us to brazenly imagine a better world, to fearlessly proclaim something to be true that is yet just in our imagination. We are each an artist, said the poet and priest and philosopher John O'Donohue. We each possess an imagination. Everyone, whether you like it or not, is involved in the construction of our world. That really spoke to me. Everyone, whether you like it or not, is building this world. So every action we take, every word we speak, builds or breaks our planet. We must approach the world as collaborators and willing participants in its preservation. Imagination is how we dream of something better. If we can imagine it, worst case scenarios, then we can imagine resilience, peace, love, and hope for a better future. So we welcome back, come on in. Our speaker today is Reverend Libby Smith. We say she needs no introduction, but some may not know her. She served as our part-time minister for several years, and she's now retired, but we're grateful that she comes back periodically. And it seems to have fallen into the routine of you open our Sundays for the year, and she helps to come in and close our Sundays like today. Her sermon title that she gave us today is Giving the World a Soul, and she foreshadows it this way. Bringing the power of our imagination to the world around us allows us to see deeper meaning and possibility in our everyday lives. But because imagination has so much power, we need to be careful how we use it. Let's explore both the light and the shadow of imagination and move into the summer prepared to give the world a soul. I have to say, Libby, I am intrigued. But before we begin, we'll have the musical prelude. As always, we're grateful to have some, joyous music that Avi brings to us each and every Sunday, whether he's here in person or not. We're grateful that he's here with us in person today. He did a little bit of a change up if you are following the order of service. We're going to begin with a familiar tune that all of us, I know I grew up with this. It is Over the Rainbow from The Wizard of Oz.
Good morning, everybody here in this room and on this Zoom. It is wonderful to be with you for one last glorious grand finale celebration here. And as such, I'm going to begin, and I invite you to sing with me on one of our most popular songs of all time, from one of the most popular movies of all time. And there's a reason that it is so popular and ubiquitous and has been covered by so many. It's because a good song is a good song. A good song is timeless, but it also speaks to the message of the song. The message of the song of really imagining a better world and imagining what that can be like. And so I invite you all to sing with me this morning as we open with Judy Garland's famous Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow. Why, oh, why can't I?
Thank you, Avi. I'll never cease being grateful for your talents. And now I'd like to invite Sherry Christenberry to join me for the lighting of the chalice and our opening words. Come, let us gather in this sacred space where imagination is a soil rich with possibility. Let us plant seeds of wonder, water them with curiosity, and tend them with community. May our minds open, our hearts awaken, and together may we nurture visions that grow beyond today. Come, let us worship and imagine anew. Thank you, Sherry. Those are the words of the Reverend Michelle Collins. And now I welcome Reverend Libby Smith with a message for all ages.
Many of you are probably familiar with the stories by Arnold Lobel, especially the frog and toad stories, if you have been young children or have had young children or grandchildren. Frog and Toad are friends, and then many, many more adventures of Frog and Toad. Well, he also wrote some stories about Owl. They're not as well known as the Frog and Toad stories, but I like them even better. And this little book has 4 stories about Owl. It's called Owl at Home. And any one of them would have been a wonderful illustration of using imagination. But I chose the one I did for a particular reason. Are you able to get a look at what Owl looks like? He's got his pajamas on and he's carrying a candle. And that's very appropriate because in this story, he's just getting ready to go to bed. And the story is called Strange Bumps. Owl was in bed. "It is time to blow out the candle and go to sleep," he said. Yawned. Then Owl saw 2 bumps under his blanket at the bottom of his bed. "What can those strange bumps be?" he said. Have any guesses what those strange bumps might be? He lifted up the blanket and he looked down into the bed, but all he could see there was darkness. Owl tried to sleep, but he could not. "What if those 2 strange bumps grow bigger and bigger while I'm asleep?" said Owl. "That would not be pleasant." Owl moved his right foot up and down. The bump on the right moved up and down too. "One of those bumps is moving," said Owl. Owl moved his left foot up and down. The bump on the left moved up and down. "The other bump is moving," said Owl. Owl pulled all the covers off his bed. The bumps were gone. All Owl could see at the bottom of the bed were his own 2 feet. "But now I'm cold," said Owl, "so I will cover myself with the blankets again." As soon as he did, he saw the same 2 bumps. "Those bumps are back," shouted Owl. "Bumps, bumps, bumps! I will never sleep tonight." He jumped up and down on top of the bed. "Where are you? Where are you?" he cried. With a crash and a bang, the bed came falling down. Owl ran down the stairs. He sat in his chair near the fire. "I will let those 2 strange bumps sit on my bed all by themselves," he said. "Let them grow as big as they wish. I will sleep right here where I am safe." And that is what he did. Just a little cautionary tale about the things our imagination can do.
Thank you, Libby. Yeah, sometimes imagination. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about that as your sermon message comes up. But now let's sing our children off to RE class. Would you like to go to RE?
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of us surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
At this point in our service, we like to share our gifts through our shared plate offertory. The recipient in the month of May is the Rainbow Room. This program with the Planned Parenthood Keystone is an LGBTQIA youth program that provides supportive and empowering environment for youth ages 14 to 21. Weekly meetings are free and confidential, and where you learn about building support networks and having fun in a safe environment. I know many of our fellowship were out at the New Hope Pride Parade yesterday, so this is a charity that is near and dear to our heart, so please give generously. Gifts given with love are accepted with gratitude. Again, thank you for your generosity. And now let's welcome Reverend Libby Smith back for a reading.
The reading this morning comes from the introductory material from the Soul Matters packet for the month of May on imagination from the small group packet. And I believe those introductions are written by the Reverend Scott Taylor, who kind of masterminds the program, but I'm not positive about that, so I think this is attributable to Scott Taylor. Imagination isn't just a force that drives us toward a better future. It also pulls the sacred into our impoverished present. Imagination is what transforms trees from potential firewood into wise friends. Imagination is what moves us from lording over the natural world to seeing ourselves as part of it. Or to put it another way, imagination is what gives the world a soul. Through the lens of imagination, everyday experience becomes precious, even mystical. For instance, the laughter of our children becomes the sound of angels. Sunshine on our faces becomes a way that life expresses its love for us. The ocean is able to speak, telling us that we are freer and have more choices than we think. And a simple act of kindness from a stranger shimmers, and through it, life says to our burdened heart, "This soon shall pass. Everything will be okay." Yes, this is what imagination does. It enables us to hear the world speak.
So I told you earlier that we sort of shifted things around because Avi felt that this piece that he selected for the musical interlude might be a little bit better introduction to Libby's sermon message. So let's listen to a piece that's a Disney piece. I think that's great for the theme of imagination, but I'm not familiar with it, so I'm looking forward to getting to know it. It's Colors of the Wind from the movie Pocahontas.
think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or ask the grinning bobcat why he grins? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Run the hidden pine trails of the forest and taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. How high does the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth, until you can paint with all the colors of the wind.
Beautiful once again, Avi. Thank you for introducing me to that piece. And what I love the best is when you sing, I really hear the words. Let's welcome Reverend Libby Smith back for her sermon, Giving the World a Soul.
In the piece I used for our reading, Scott Taylor reminds us that the imagination is a powerful thing. It allows us to see deeper into what is really here, and then to see beyond what is really here to what could be here. It opens up new worlds. When I read that line about giving the world a soul, I remembered being a child. I used to talk to the trees. I would spend hours in trees, reading up in trees. It was one of my favorite places to be. I carried an imaginary elf in my pocket to school every day for all of second grade. I would pull little pictures out of my science book of food and pretend I was feeding him. Go, here are some grapes. His name was Elphys. I didn't even know about Elvis at the time. It wasn't a pun. I dreamed of great adventures and daring rescues, and I traveled to all kinds of imaginary worlds through the books I was constantly reading. The world of my childhood was deeply soulful. And I've talked to enough people about this to feel confident that many children experience the world that way. Maybe some of you did too. And many of us find that as we grow older, we lose some of that innate ability to imbue the world with its soul. I can't speak for all of us, but I know that my soul-affirming imagination has grown a bit dimmer over the years. I'll be coming back to that. But what is imagination? According to the Oxford English Dictionary, it is the faculty or action of forming new ideas or images or concepts of external objects not present to the senses, and the ability of the mind to be creative or resourceful. So imagination is what lets us move beyond the realm of the factual and the concrete into the world of possibilities. Now, as an idealistic young teenager, I was absolutely transfixed by the musical Man of La Mancha. Are any of you familiar with it? It's written by Dale Wasserman, and it's very loosely based on the story of Miguel Cervantes, the 17th century Spanish author, and his fictional creation, Don Quixote. Wasserman was not trying to be true to the novel. So what I'm going to describe to you are scenes from the musical, which is really more about Cervantes and his idealism than about Quixote himself. Quixote becomes representative of Cervantes in the musical. There's a lot of overlap with the actual character, though. But take it with a grain of salt. I am not quoting Miguel Cervantes. I am quoting Dale Wasserman. But in this story, Quixote is the archetypal dreamer. The most famous song from the musical is The Impossible Dream, which many of you probably are familiar with. He's a minor nobleman in the 17th century. He becomes so enamored of tales of chivalry and adventure that he becomes delusional, and he fancies himself to be a knight-errant. And he rides out in this crazy, rusty old suit of armor he ropes somebody into being his squire, and he goes out to seek adventure, seeing the world as he believes it should be and not as it is. So this leads to him believing that windmills are giants waiting to be defeated, that a shaving basin is the golden helmet of Mambrino. He sings an entire song to it. I laughed until I cried. That a tavern prostitute named Aldonza is actually his fair lady Dulcinea. The results are sometimes devastating and sometimes hilarious. But along the way, his unwavering idealism begins to touch people. And it offers a glimpse of self-respect and hope to some of the people he encounters who believed themselves to be worthless, most notably the prostitute Aldonza. Now, this madness of his and his wooing of this tavern prostitute is an embarrassment to his family. They're minor nobility. They have standing in the community. They try to break him of his idealism. They get the doctor to try to talk sense into him. And in one exchange, the doctor says, "There are no giants, no kings under enchantment, no chivalry, no knights. There have been no knights for 300 years. Quixote replies calmly, "So learned, yet so misinformed." And angrily, the doctor insists, "These are facts." And Quixote replies, "Facts are the enemy of truth." Quixote gave his world a soul. In the midst of squalor, he saw beauty. His family despaired of that overactive imagination and called it madness. But at another point in the play, the character of Cervantes says, "Too much sanity may be madness, and maddest of all is to see the world as it is and not as it should be." I might not go so far as to say that facts are the enemy of truth, but if we look only at facts, we miss the deeper truths that shimmer all around us. So just what can imagination do for us? I found a wonderful quotation from the writer Ursula Le Guin. She writes, I think she's still writing, mostly science fiction, but there was one book for young adults that I love, that my mom was an elementary librarian. So there are quotations from authors all through this sermon, because imagination and writing and literature go so closely together. Ursula Le Guin wrote, "As great scientists have said," remember that quotation from Einstein, "as great scientists have said, and as all children know, it is above all by the imagination that we achieve perception and compassion and hope." It's by the imagination that we achieve perception, compassion, and hope. I want to take those one at a time. Imagination allows us to achieve perception. Now, I'm married to a scientist, so that one made sense to me right away, because until I met John and got to know a scientist well, I always thought of scientists as being primarily about facts. And, you do your research and you get your data and you get the facts. But in truth, most of the great discoveries of science spring not from the facts and data, but from some intuitive leap of the creative mind, which the research then follows to try to explore. I was once told that the most important words you ever hear in a research library are, that's odd, because that's what leads to a different kind of exploration than the one you were expecting. It's no wonder there are so many quotations about imagination accredited to Albert Einstein. And the one that Sherry chose for this morning, the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination, reminds us that without that ability to imagine beyond the knowledge that we have acquired through our 5 physical senses, we would never perceive so many of the things that are currently invisible to us, but that are very real. Our imagination allows us to perceive the beauty and the magic that may lie hidden all around us. Okay, then imagination allows us to achieve compassion. I had to sit with that one for a while. I wasn't quite sure what she meant. But I think she's talking about the way that when we apply our imagination to the people we meet, we can see a deeper humanity in them than we might otherwise give them credit for. If we look at another person, even a person we might think of as an opponent, and imagine the life that shaped them, the longings of their heart, we see more possibility in them. As Frederick Buechner, the great 20th century preacher and theologian, put it in his book, Whistling in the Dark, if we are to love our neighbors, before doing anything else, we must see our neighbors with our imagination as well as with our eyes. That is to say, like artists, we must see not just their faces, but the life behind and within their faces. Here it is love that is the frame we see them in. He's asking us to imagine the parts of people that we can't see, the struggles and the loves and the simple humanity that we can so easily overlook. A dear friend of mine has a little card taped to his office wall with the quotation, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle." The words are often attributed to Plato. Doing some online research, it seems to me more likely, at least the most credible source that I think I found, they probably came from the 19th century Scottish clergyman John Watson, for what that's worth. But be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle, asks us to use our imagination with everyone we meet, to remember that there's so much more to their lives than what we can see, to approach them with compassion rather than judgment. I had a friend, when I was a young adult, we used to go thrift shopping together, and he would get so annoyed with me because every time someone would do something rude, I would find some reason why they might be feeling bad that day, to the point that as soon as I opened my mouth, he would say, I know, their dog probably just died. But that's what Buechner is asking us to do. That's what John Watson is asking us to do. So imagination allows our perception, and it allows our compassion. And then we get to that third quality that Le Guin lifts up, the quality of hope. Imagination enables us to achieve hope. And this, for me, is where all of these things come together to move us toward a better world and a better future. Because if we can perceive the world that is already around us in all of its depth and beauty and possibility, and if we can feel true compassion for the people around us, then surely we will want to create a better world. We'll want to protect and preserve the beauty of the world we've come to know. We'll want the people whose lives we have imagined and who we have viewed with compassion to be able to flourish and to thrive. We'll want that for all people because our imagination has allowed us to see them fully. And so then we turn our imagination to the future and begin to imagine what a world that allowed for those things might look like. We create a vision of what could be possible, and it gives us the hope to work for that vision. In the book of Proverbs, it says, without a vision, the people perish. But with a vision fired by imagination, great things are possible. First, we dream it, and then we do it. I think it was Thoreau who said, if you have built your castles in the air, that is where they should be. Now build foundations under them. First have the dream, then make it real. And this has been woven into this religious tradition of Unitarian Universalism from our very beginning. I had a wonderful time. I had so much fun with quotations working on this sermon. I kept thinking of ones and trying to remember what they were and where they came from and going through books and looking online. And I had a great time tracking this one down because I could only remember a few words of it and Firefox couldn't find it, but Google finally did. Sometimes I will give in and use Google, even though I try to use DuckDuckGo. I knew it was by an early Unitarian. I didn't know which one. And when I found the version of it, I remembered it said it had been adapted. So then I got curious about what the original source was. And sure enough, I found online a photocopy of a pamphlet from 1887 with an unpublished essay by Theodore Parker, the great transcendentalist Unitarian minister, one of his earliest pieces on transcendentalism, the philosophy of transcendentalism. 1877, excuse me. So this is the quotation that was adapted into a quotation that was in the Old Blue Hymnal. He's speaking of transcendentalism, which for him is the vision of Unitarianism moving forward. He says, it looks to a future to be made, a church whose creed is truth, whose worship is love, a society full of industry and abundance, full of wisdom, virtue, and the poetry of life, a state with unity among all, with freedom for each, a church without tyranny, a society without ignorance, want, or crime, a state without oppression, yes, a world with no war among the nations to consume the work of their hands, and no restrictive policy to hinder the welfare of humankind. That is the human dream of the transcendental philosophy. Shall it ever become a fact? History says no. Human nature says yes. Talk about dreaming the impossible dream. It was kind of heartbreaking to read those words from Parker almost 200 years later and realize, all right, I'm exaggerating, over 150 years later, and realize how little of it we have managed to achieve in our world, even in our churches. And yet, I'm grateful to be reminded that we are part of a tradition that has always believed that our imagination can inspire us to work for a better world. But here comes the shadow side. Brace yourself. When I stumbled over a quotation from the great artist Pablo Picasso, who said, "Everything you can imagine is real," I began to feel uncomfortable and then downright nervous. I was reminded of a passage from one of my favorite children's books by C.S. Lewis, one of the Chronicles of Narnia, if any of you are familiar with those, where they are sailing close to an island. They're told it's the island where dreams come true. And at first they're very excited, and that sounds like a wonderful thing, until they realize it's not where daydreams come true, but where dreams come true. And suddenly they realize what a terrifying place it could be. I said earlier that my soul-affirming imagination has dimmed as I age, and that is sadly true. I forget to talk to the trees. I haven't climbed one for probably 20 years. I rarely dream of magical adventures. But it's worse than that. It's not just that I've stopped giving my imagination to give the world a soul, using my imagination to give the world a soul. It's that often now my imagination takes off in directions that do just the opposite. The things I imagine can suck the soul right out of my world. That is why I love the story of Owl and his strange bumps. Poor Owl. His imagination, which could have taken him to such lovely places in his mind as he drifted off to sleep, instead turned his own feet into something so scary that he couldn't sleep in his own bed. I totally relate to Owl. No, I have never lain in bed being afraid of my own feet, but I have often lain awake in the wee hours of the morning, being afraid of other things, worrying about all the things I've done in the past that I can't change, worrying about all the things that I need to do in the future and might get wrong, and then imagining in great detail all of the different ways that I might get them wrong, worrying about things over which I have no control, imagining worst-case scenarios that will probably never come to pass. I'm sure none of you do this, but I'm here to tell you that some people do, and my husband and I are experts. Anxiety is the shadow side of imagination, because we are not only capable of imagining good and beautiful and inspiring things, we are also capable of imagining betrayal and disaster and failure, especially at 2 a.m. The ancient Roman philosopher Seneca said we suffer in our imagination more often than in reality. And while a certain degree of imagination about the things that could go wrong can help us feel prepared and equipped to cope with possible challenges, getting trapped in that mindset can be paralyzing. And there's a similar kind of shadow side in the way we apply our imagination to our interactions with other people. I've shared inspiring words this morning about imagining the lives of the people we meet, words from Buechner and from Watson, about seeing their full humanity and acknowledging their hidden struggles and meeting them with compassion and love. But in my experience, so often my own imagination instead causes me to jump to conclusions and assumptions about other people that are less than compassionate. I make snap judgments based on people's appearance, or their bumper stickers, or the kind of car that they drive, what kind of flag they have on it. My imagination fills in all kinds of unflattering details about them and their life that often, if I have the chance to learn more about them, turn out to be wildly wrong. When I was in graduate school, I was taking a course about LGBTQ issues and specifically about the AIDS epidemic. And so I was at the laundromat one night, waiting for my laundry to come out of the dryer, and I was reading one of the assigned books for that class. Had a very eye-catching, bright red cover with the word AIDS in huge white block capitals. And I noticed this guy who kept looking at me. He was a kind of tough-looking guy. He was wearing cowboy boots and a Western-style shirt. He didn't look very friendly, and he kept looking at me and looking at the book I was reading. And I was pretty sure that he wanted to say something to me, and I was pretty sure I didn't want to hear it. And I was bracing myself for confrontation. I had begun to imagine the conversation in my head and the kinds of things he might say and whether I would be able to keep my cool and try to answer him in a way that might actually open up a dialogue instead of just turning into a shouting match. And eventually he did speak up in a very soft and tentative voice. He thanked me for caring enough to be informed. He was gay. He volunteered for an AIDS hotline. He had lost a lot of friends in the epidemic, and we ended up talking for a long time. And I finally admitted to him that the reaction I got from him was not the reaction I had been expecting, and we were able to laugh together about that too. Our imagination is not always benign. I used to get frustrated as a child when people would tell me to rein in my imagination. Don't get carried away by your imagination. Sometimes we should let our imaginations carry us away, but it depends on what we're imagining. We're capable of imagining things that are not life-giving, that are not inspiring, that are not soul-affirming. So if Picasso is right and everything we can imagine is real, then we had better be really careful about what we imagine. If imagination is what allows us to move beyond the realm of the factual and the concrete into the world of possibilities, it's a very powerful tool. And like any powerful tool, it can be dangerous if it's used carelessly. But the beauty of that is that if our imagination takes us in the wrong direction, we can use our imagination to turn it around and go somewhere else. So I've got 2 more quotations to throw in here, because the African-American activist and philosopher Angela Davis once said, "Walls turned sideways become bridges." Walls turned sideways become bridges. So if you find your imagination taking you down a path that you don't want to travel, showing you a world you don't want to make real, leading you to smack into a wall, then use your imagination to turn that wall into a bridge and cross over into a different kind of vision. We have that power. The children's author, Lloyd Alexander, who was one of my favorites as a kid, and I actually wrote to him to ask him how to pronounce the name of one of the characters in one of his books, and he wrote back a lovely personal letter. He wanted to encourage young people to read, and he wrote that imagination is at the heart of everything we do. This was not in the letter to me. This is something I found elsewhere. Scientific discoveries couldn't have happened without imagination. Art, music, and literature couldn't exist without imagination. And so anything that strengthens imagination, and reading certainly does that, can help us for the rest of our lives. Anything that strengthens imagination, he says, can help us for the rest of our lives. So it was my intention to urge us all to head out into the coming summer with a commitment to strengthen our imaginations. And I still want to do that, but only if we do it with full awareness of the power our imagination has, to be sure that we're using that imagination to give the world a soul and not to take away the soul of the world. The choice is ours.
Thank you, Libby. You certainly have given us a great launch pad into our summer break. We appreciate that. At this point in our service, we want to share our joys and our sorrows. So if you have something to share, I invite you forward to this microphone to offer it up to the community, whether it's a joy or a sorrow. I just ask it to be brief. So anyone want to share? Yeah.
Good morning. I have so many joys. I don't know where to start, really. Certainly, it's an incredible joy to have Libby with us this morning. It gave us such an amazing sermon. I think you hit that one right out of the park, Libby. And a great joy was that I got to go to my first Pride Parade yesterday in New Hope, and we had such a great time. I didn't know what to expect, really. It was a beautiful, family-friendly, fun event. It was great. And then today I saw this cartoon that kind of reminded me of it a little bit, but it's like Jesus is sitting there and he's got some people at his feet listening to him, and Jesus says, "Love everyone that you meet." And one of the people says, "But what if they're gay or they believe in a God that we don't believe in?" And Jesus says, "Did I freaking stutter?"
Well, Roseanne's going to try to follow that.
Hi, I'm Roseanne Frankenberg. I have the joy, our son Jonathan graduated yesterday from Bryn Mawr with a master's degree in social study, social sciences, I guess. So, yeah, right, it's social work, social service, and we're proud of him.
Many graduations that are happening.
Next week, I'll be married to my husband 61 years. And you're right. And it wasn't until this morning that I realized he probably has one of the greatest imaginations of anyone I have ever known. Years and years ago, our kids were little, and they're in their 50s now, but they were little at the time. We got a new car, and it had an intermittent wiper when it was raining. So one of the kids said, "Well, how does that windshield know when to do that?" And he said, "Oh, it senses the rain on the windshield, and then it does it."
And now we have cars that do that.
Thank you, Nancy. And another Nancy coming forward.
Hi, I'm Nancy Harvin. I just wanted to mention, it's on our e-news, but we have one of our members who is in rehab currently, Mary Rogers, and a lot of you know Mary. And right now, she's not in a great way because she wants to be back in her apartment, so there's nothing worse than being in a place you're not happy with. So the only joy she gets is really if somebody comes and visits her, and I've done that a couple of times, and Tracy has gone to see her. She appreciates just a few minutes of getting outdoors, getting into some air, and just knowing that somebody knows she's alive. Because honestly, when you get into rehab, we've all heard it, there's not a rehab out there I know of that makes you feel warm and welcome. They're great people, they really are, but you feel alone. So anybody who has a little time this summer and the next couple of weeks, a visit to Mary will actually bring so much joy in your day. You will be so glad you did it. And my second thing is I just wanted to say, you know, we are on our last day. I'm here as you know, Nancy is your president of the Board of Trustees. I'm one of 5 who help run UUFLB, 4th this year and the next year. There's always that rotating because everybody here works to get this place working, everybody. There's hardly a hand that can't say, oh, I do that, or I do this, I do this. And I have to say, because of that, I think we all take it, and it's our home, like we said earlier today. It used to be in the old days, I'd heard this from somebody who said, we used to have 3 homes. We had our home life, we had our work home, and then we had our spiritual home. Most of us have gone home to work and lost that connection of our work home. And then we've lost our spiritual connection. So we have just one home and not many voices. So it's really kind of nice that we have this other voice. And I think it's an important one, and that's why I think we all work so hard. And if you look around, everybody, as I said, does something to make this happen. So I just want to say, I know it's our last. I'll be sad but happy because it is a rest for us, but we'll see you all hopefully in September.
Thank you, Nancy. Anyone else? Well, whether or not you share it today, if yours is a joy, this community joins you in celebration. And for any of the sorrows out there, whether they're spoken or not, feel our compassion and our sympathy. And let's take just a moment to sing Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
As our service draws to its close, I came across this meditation, and though I didn't really know anything more about what Libby was going to share with us today in her sermon message, the foreshadowing kind of highlighted this meditation as something I felt important to leave you with from today's service. So get comfortable, bow your head, close your eyes if that's what makes you comfortable, and listen to these words. Now, it's written in the first person, so it says I a lot, but I think you could read the word we as well. I watch and read the news with trepidation these days, never sure what new twist or challenge might emerge, never sure what new directive might get announced. I imagine the worst and prepare for it in my mind as if worry were a form of protection. My imagination is not necessarily my friend. And yet I know that imagination is also how we dream of something better. If I can imagine worst case scenarios, I can also imagine resistance, resilience, and hope. Perhaps my imagination is not necessarily my friend, but maybe, just maybe, it can become my ally. Again, the words of Reverend Michelle Collins. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our closing song. Avi has selected for us hymn number 1018, Come and Go With Me.
Let's make this a rousing one. Feel free to move your feet, clap your hands, however you'd like to make music this morning. Let's do it. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. Justice, there will be justice in that land. There will be justice in that land. There will be justice in that land where I'm bound. There will be justice in that land. There will be justice in that land. There will be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing. There'll be singing in that land. There will be singing in that land. There will be singing in that land where I'm bound. There will be singing in that land. There will be singing in that land. There will be singing in that land where I'm bound. Come and go one last time. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound.
Our words for extinguishing the chalice are from John O'Donohue. May your imagination know the grace of perfect danger, to reach beyond imitation and the wheel of repetition, deep into the call of all the unfinished and unsolved, until the veil of the unknown yields and something original begins to stir toward your senses and grow stronger in your heart. Our service is concluded. As we remember, this is our last service here at Penn Ren for the church year. Thank you, all those who joined us on Zoom. We'll be thinking of you over our summer break. Be sure to come back on September 7th for our first service of the new church year, which will be our 60th anniversary year. So looking forward to news about that and how we'll celebrate our 60th. So I don't know of any specific plans over the summer months, but I encourage you all to watch your e-news. Who knows when a picnic might pop up somewhere along the line. There's book club, I know that's happening, so there's ways to stay connected. This truly is a community, folks, so let's let that community stay bonded together over our summer break. In the meantime, let's all thank Reverend Libby Smith for an inspiring sermon today. And I hope you plan to stick around a little bit longer for some coffee fellowship and conversation in our cafeteria. Is there something special that they're doing out there? Yeah, I don't know. Special cookies that Eric made. Oh, we are really looking forward to that. So make sure you pick that up. I know Libby is looking forward to meeting with anybody who's been with the Adult RE, the small group ministries things that's been going on over the spring. So I will take a few minutes to connect with Libby there. But I just want to say thank you for coming today. Stay connected. And amen and blessed be. Go now in peace.